afternoon folks, and welcome to the first of this week's reviews. I'm hoping to get 3 of them in this week. For the first time ever, certainly in my flight sim history, we're in Israel, and you're looking at EILAT Ramon Airport, Lima Lima Echo Romeo. This is a payware scenery by FTXDes, and you're looking at version 1 for the PC version of Flight Sim 2020. Download at 4.19 gigabytes, so 4.2 gigs, and it installs at 7.2 gigs, so it's a fairly substantial scenery, but then there's a lot that's been done here to make it look real from the real location. Scenery is currently available from Sim Market, and it's priced at €20.40, which equates to roughly $22.35 US or £17.70 UK. As ever, US and UK prices are all estimates from the euro, and they do indeed include VAT or tax, which of course may vary depending on which country you're in when you make your purchase. So let's look at the features. You have a detailed terminal and control tower interior, 3D ground mesh including the rain drains, we'll talk about that later, custom apron texture, custom static models and night textures included, and also there's a GSX profile for users of GSX Pro. So that's the introduction and features list. Let's have a look at some history. So Ramon Airport, Lima Lima Echo Romeo, named after Ilan and Asaf Ramon and unofficially known as EILAT Ramon Airport, is a civilian use international airport owned and operated by the Israeli Airports Authority. The airport is located in the Timna Valley in southern Israel. Ramon Airport is the second busiest airport in Israel after Ben Gurion and has replaced the former Eilat and Ovda Airport for civilian traffic. It also serves as a primary diversion airport in Israel. The airport is located 11 miles or 18 kilometers north of the city of Eilat, next to Bur Ora. Unlike the previous airport in Eilat, it has ample ramp space and a much longer runway which allows large aircraft to land and park. The airport was originally due to open in April 2017, but the opening was pushed back and the airport finally opened in January 2019. The Irish low-cost carrier Ryanair inaugurated the first international flight service with a Boeing 737-800 from Poznan in Poland in March the same year. The current EILAT airport is named in memory of the first Israeli astronaut Ilan Ramon, who perished in the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster, and his son Asaf Ramon, who died 6 years later when his F-16 fighter jet crashed in a training accident. EILAT Airport was established in 1949 when most of what would later become EILAT was empty. As the city developed, much of it was built around the airport. In the 1994 peace agreement between Israel and Jordan, it was decided that operations would be transferred from EILAT Airport to Aqaba Airport in Jordan. The original plan was to rename Aqaba Airport as Aqaba Eilat Peace International Airport. However, the agreement was never carried out, and an agreement between the two countries in March 1997 stipulated that domestic flights would continue to use EILAT Airport, whilst no further action to move international flights took place. Nonetheless, construction of Ramon Airport angered Jordan, and this was seen by the Jordanian side as reneging on a promise of a joint airport made in the 1990s. Removing EILAT Airport from the city centre was considered necessary for further development of EILAT, as it would allow the construction of additional hotels close to the shoreline and reduce noise pollution. The project is part of a larger plan to develop the city, which includes mega projects such as moving the port of Eilat to a location near the Jordanian border, for which removal of the original airport is necessary, the railway to Eilat, and upgrading the Arava Road. The South District Planning and Construction Committee gave its approval for the project in 2003, and advanced planning was approved by the Israeli government in July 2010. The first test flight and landing in the airport took place in September 2017. In January 2019, Jordan objected to Israel's opening of the airport, arguing that the operation of the airport threatened the kingdom's airspace. A bus terminal and a park and ride facility was built next to the airport at a cost of $400 million. The bus terminal will replace the EILAT Central Bus Station. And aside from using the existing Highway 90, it may also someday be possible to reach the airport from the centre of the country, and EILAT via a proposed high-speed rail line and a light rail line that will connect it to the city. Airlines currently serving the airport are Akia Airlines, Israel Airlines and Transavia. So that does it for the history, and as you'll appreciate, this airport is extremely close to the Jordanian border, so there are airspace restrictions which we'll look at in the next section. So let's go look at runways now. So runways, here we are, 4:20 in the afternoon. It's late November 2023 and we've lowered the lighting down so you can see. So this airport operates a single runway 1901 measuring 11,811 feet or 3,600 meters in length and is constructed from asphalt. Now the airport lies at an elevation of 288 feet or 88 meters and sits within the GMT UTC +2 hours time zone. Like the UK, Israel observes daylight saving time, and since this has now ended, we're late November, the airport is still currently 2 hours ahead of the UK. Now runway 1901 both ends, and we're looking at the approach area to runway 01 now. Both ends have runway lighting, high intensity airfield lighting system, centerline lighting and precision approach path indicators on both sides. Now here you can see we've got centerline lighting, the high intensity lighting. We've also got runway end identifier lights which are not listed on the chart, and we've got the sequence lights approach system, again which is sort of, the approach lighting is shown on the charts but it's not listed as sequenced, but again it doesn't matter. And we've also got an additional PAPI here which has probably been left in the scenery and not excluded, because PAPIs are on both sides of the runway as they are indeed here, which is correct. So you've got everything here that the chart says you have, with a few other bits and pieces, and as I've said elsewhere in these reviews, I'm not complaining. If they've added extra bits that they leave in the scenery that's going to help you make a landing approach in low-vis conditions, then I'm not complaining at all. But everything that's listed on a chart is here, with a few additions. Let's have a look at the other end very quickly, runway 19. So here we are looking down the slope of runway 19, and as you can see, runway 19 also has exactly the same as per the charts, but with the additional bits and pieces. You just, I think, realistically have to be very careful with the PAPIs because you've got one extra one here, which may interfere with the two that actually the charts are showing. Approach options, well, both runways have a standard instrument landing system. They also have RNP approach options, and you've got visual approach options as well. The NURIT visual is for runway 19 that we're looking at now, and the ADV visual is for runway 01, the other end. Last thing to say is you've got high terrain around the airport and restricted airspace, because obviously Egypt and Jordan have their borders very, very close to the airport. We got restricted areas that can be found 5 miles southwest of the airport, 11 miles northwest of the airport and 15 miles northwest of the airport, so 3 danger zones. You also got speed restrictions on all approaches, so pilots, you've got to check your charts. So no jetways at this airport, so let's get down to the ramp and have a good look at this scenery project and see what the features are. Okay, so let's look at the airport closely. Here we'll start from the very southern end. Here below us you can see Highway 90. This runs right past the airport, and as you can see there's a little bit of work that's been done, but it actually looks quite good because he's edited the terrain around this airport, as we'll see as we pass over. So we're going to start here from the south and head north, and I'll point out certain features as we pass over airside, and then we'll come back south and look at landside. You can see the fence line there to the right. And here you've got little buildings and bits and pieces. And it looks lovely, and the foliage that's been added there to the left just enhances it. So here you can see the storm drains. There's a control tower. As you go over the airside territory here, I mean, the tarmac looks wonderful. The roads are nicely done, 3D modelled. There's my aircraft parked. You got some trees and things there which again exist at the real airport. And this all looks really nice. I saw a rendition of this airport in P3D, and to be honest, this looks just as good, if not better. Obviously, it showcases what flights in 2020 can do better than P3D does. But as you can see, it's really nicely detailed and weathered, and just looks great. And the storm drains make it just enhance it as well. It looks lovely. And there you've got traffic using the highway on the left there too. So we're up to almost to the northernmost point here now, and you've got the fuel farm there below us. And again, you've got this photo ground that is a higher resolution than I would have expected, and it works. It just makes it. It just looks good. And here we come up towards the threshold of runway 19 to the right there. Let's just swing across. And sitting in the mountains the way it does, this place just looks great. And see the cuttings away there by the side of the taxiway. This addition of realism with the storm drains looks great. And here we've got the approach to runway 19. And it's just a closer look at the storm drains, and there you've got what would be the underpass that goes under the approach lighting system on the runway. And looking across the runway, there's a displaced threshold, and they got the storm drain down here with more covers. So all of this is just looks so much better because the terrain has been nicely modelled and improved from the default. So as we travel back, I mean, this just looks good. I really like the way this looks, and it could be an interesting airport to fly into, to be honest. So back across the fence line, across the fuel farm, and I love the way the desert has been improved by making the ground resolution higher. Really does look good. There's the motorway, Highway 90 to the right of us there. It just looks lovely, doesn't it? It really does. Now we're coming landside. Photo terrain used here rather than 3D. But it doesn't look too bad. I would have preferred 3D, but it's okay, it's alright. I mean, it looks the part. I like it, I really do. And just coming across to the entrance here, and you can see the trees are really nicely placed. And as we carry on down the road, you've got the entrance to the airport here. Complete with barriers. It's very nice. It's a nice little scenery. And a petrol station here. Very pleasant. I mean, it hasn't been overdone. Just looks fine. It'd be interesting to see this during the darkness hours. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the darkness hours. So let's have a look at the control tower. Again, you've got these amazing storm drains. Very nicely modelled tower. And the tower's modelled inside. As with many sceneries like this, when the developer's gone this far, it would have been really nice to see some people. Just one or two controllers in here would have really just made the grade for me, really. But yeah, no problem, it looks nice. It's a nice looking building. So a close look at the airside. As you can see, the airside road's been 3D modelled, which is really nice. Some nicely placed cars and vans. I mean, it all looks a bit grey and sort of colourless, but as far as I got, from the research I've done, this is how it looks in the real world. So let's get up close to the terminal. That's nice, looks great from the outside. Again, these little trees really sort of enhance the whole thing. And we've got the bus park there. It's nice, it's very nice. And it's different. It's hard to put my finger on it, but it is just different, which is another reason why I like it. So here on the other side of the taxiway, we've got what looks like the fire training ground. This would be an aircraft that they set fire to practice each time. Don't see any fire tenders as such. But nonetheless, a nice building. Here's the runway crossing point. Nicely done with the appropriate signage, and as you can see, it continues on the other side of the runway. So just a quick close-up look at one or two of these buildings here. As you can see, this is hasn't really been developed inside as such, but yeah, it looks fine. So here you are at the main terminal. Let's pop inside here and have a quick look. So escalator modelling there, and you've also got the elevator there to the right hand side. And there you can see another elevator, and you've got some control desks there as well. Let's just follow this inside, see what we've got. So this is the arrivals hall. And you collect your baggage and you go out to landside here. So again, a very basic terminal interior model. Very basic, is fine. No people, no signage as such, it looks fine. So we're back airside again. Let's just go up this way. And there we've got our first sort of restaurant come image there, Burger King. A bit dark, but from this position it seems to work. So a couple more. We're clearly into the departures side here now, and here you've got the lower level as well. I mean, it's all pretty basic, but it looks quite nice. It's ripe for development, of course. And we're back on the upper level. Here's the security check. and seen from the landside area. And here we are landside with the check-in desks. And actually when you go up close there you can see the signboards of the check-in desks, and they're really clear close up, which is nice. So just another view of the landside concourse. In the distance there you've got arrivals, which we looked at a moment ago, and this is the departures end. And outside the building here landside, this is where they go in through departures from the landside point. So that was the terminal, interior, airside and landside. The terminal is really nicely modelled, and it's crying out for people. It's crying out for passenger figures. That's my only complaint. Also, these roads here really need to be done 3D like their airside counterparts. I understand that he's used a lot of photo mesh and at a higher resolution to make the airport and environment look more realistic, especially airside. Looks great. But the roads I think need to be done in 3D, you know, especially when you start parking cars on them, because even here at this height you start to see the blurriness. That's really my only complaints, but again, you know, developers decide to go so far and not any further, and I respect that. Question is whether it's good enough and whether the price reflects what they've decided to do and how far they've gone. But environmentally, it looks amazing. It's a very different, rather unique little airport. It's certainly the best version out there, and it's much better than the P3D version that I used to fly into ages ago. So here's my aircraft parked on stand uniform 1. The ground markings are fine. The tarmac looks good. Not much in the way of clutter. But, you know, this is fine. So during the daytime, this is the view you're going to get when you park up on stand U1 having flown in. And that doesn't look bad at all, does it? It really does look quite nice. It's quite realistic. View out the captain's side. And a view looking across the first officer's window. So as you can see, it looks great. There's a lot that isn't included, which would be really nice to see included. I mean, this airport is ripe for further development to make it much more, what's the word? Not complicated, but much more detailed than it currently is. But as it stands, it's lovely. It's well worth. I think it's well worth it as an airport purchase. I think it's the best version. We'll talk about price in a bit. I suppose really my only complaint here is the lack of ground clutter and the lack of airside traffic too. Okay, you've got buses, the default stuff they're driving around, but not putting much in the way of traffic going down up and down the airside road. And again, no engineers, no staff walking about. That would be nice. But as you can see, it's a desert airport in a stunning location. Really is. So that was a quick look during the day. Let's turn the light down and see how much more, if any, it comes to life with the darkness hours. Okay, 20 to 5 in the afternoon. It's late November 2023. As you can see, the sun has disappeared behind the mountains there, and you've got this beautiful glow. And the airport, the lights, they look pretty good. Ramp lighting looks good. Landside it looks really good. I'm also relieved to see some lighting on Highway 90 as well, which looks really good out there. And looking towards the other end, again you can see the lighting goes all the way along. Ramp lighting is excellent, really no complaints about that at all. There's the runway and the fence line. That's the threshold of runway 19 up there. And there to the right, the threshold of runway 01. You can see some of the ground signage, which we'll look at in a sec. And you have this beautiful glow on the mountains, which really makes this place, for me, such a wonderful place. About 5.5 hours flying time from the UK. So look at some of the taxiway signage and lighting. Here you've got the blue airfield edge lights, and again I really prefer the way these lights have been done as to the lighting in some other sceneries. I like the way this is. They look more prominent and they look brighter. Taxiway Alpha, and here you've got Alpha 3 entry taxiway into the runway. And here we are, close look at the edge towards the taxiway on the runway. There you've got wigwags that work and they glow onto the concrete, which is really nice and is often missed by many other developers. And again, signage, blue lights, and you've got green leading lights which come off the taxiways only. So there you can see the green leading lights that lead you into the apron, which is where they finish. They don't go all the way in, but that's fine too. And again, you've got good signage, well lit along here. So let's just have a slow tour across the airside ramp here to look at the lighting and the effects on the buildings. It's all quite subtle, getting a little bit of frame rate judder, but nothing serious. There you can see my aircraft on the ramp, looks pretty good. So let's get a little bit close up towards the terminal. And you have this nice effect where you can see inside through the glass. And it looks nice. No Asobo globes floating around, all the entry and exit numbers properly lit. Actually looks better from the outside at dusk than it does during the day. Here you've got this little effect down here to the right. But the buildings all look pretty impressive. This road, airside road, is crying out for a bit of clutter and a bit of traffic. So a quick look at the tower. There it is from the outside, you can see it's lit. And inside it's very nice. It's just crying out for a couple of controllers. So a quick tour landside, and as you can see, some really nice lighting. And I'm afraid I really think that these roads would benefit from being 3D rather than photoground or photoreal. It does look nice though, and again you can see in through the glass. The effects are really nice. It's lovely. It's very, very nice indeed. So a quick pass further landside over the car parks. Again, you've got the proper lighting giving the proper lighting effects. And I'm sorry, I can't help thinking that these car parks would benefit from being 3D modelled rather than photoground. But it's nice, it is very nice. So let's just cross the fence. As you can see, the fence line looks great. Here's the Highway 90. This is where you start to see the Asobo globes, which is how this is lit, unfortunately, but there you go. So we turn back in towards the airport. Here you've got the DAKOTA model, which I believe also exists at the real airport. That is very nice. And there it is from the other side. So a quick past landside going out towards the entrance, and you've also got the petrol station just the other side of the entrance. I mean, it looks good, there's no question about that, but it really would benefit from having 3D roads rather than photo. it would look sharper. Especially when you get down to this level, to look at the detail here. It's taken the time to do the detail, but of course you get it just isn't quite so sharp. But as a scenery, it looks lovely. It's a little bit unique in a way that it's hard to find the right words to describe. Petrol station looks lovely there too, really nice. So there's a quick look at the airport at dusk. Let's drop it down to night time now. Okay, 10 PM local time, and as you can see we're completely in the darkness now, and the airport itself has come to life a little bit more. In the distance there to the right you've got the threshold of runway 19 at the northern end, and there's runway 01 at the other end, and the highway going into the distance. So here's the ramp close up. There's my aircraft parked on the stand, and as you can see, plenty of light, all coming from the right directions. The terminal's quite nicely lit, and you've got the same lighting that you had during dusk, only a little bit sharper, so to speak. Here you've got the control tower in the distance. Would have been nice to see some lighting of some sort. Not sure if you can see, there should usually be a couple of red lights on the top to show that it's an obstruction. Can't see them from here. Maybe it'll be the case closer up. And looking towards the north, various default vehicles going around. So runway entrance and exit here at the night time. As you can see, the light is really quite good, and as you get closer to the runway, there you can see the green lighting that brings you into the apron, and the wigwags themselves showing you the live runway ahead. And I like the blue lights. You see the blue airfield edge lights, you get this lovely glow. It just looks so much better. So it looks really cool at night. You've got no problems getting off the runway and getting into the apron to find your parking stand. It just looks nice. Really no complaints about it. Generally it looks really good. So let's bring it up to dawn. So just about quarter to 7 in the morning, as you can see the sun's coming up behind us, and that's really nice. You see the way the sun is coming up with the time, and the shadows are receding and that looks pretty good. But it's a typical desert airport that really sits well within this terrain. It's a real feature airport. And here you get a good view of the rain drains, or the storm drains, whatever you want to call them, that exist around here. And there we are looking north. And just a quick shot to the east, that's where the sun comes up above the mountains. And runway 01 threshold there in the distance. Okay, 8:30 in the morning, and time to give you my conclusions. Do I like the scenery? Yes, I do. This developer has produced for P3D in the past, and he's fine, he's good. And I don't know whether this is his first foray into flights in 2020, but it's great. He's captured the way the airport should be out in the desert, captured it very wonderfully. Beautifully, the way the terrain's been developed and managed, and the way it sits in the default terrain and surrounded by these mountains makes it just a beautiful place. Modelling is good. It's of a high standard. It's not way out there, but it's of a good standard. Those are the pluses. The negatives, I would like to have seen the landside road system here close to the airport done in 3D and not left a photo reel. It just looks better, especially when you decided to add cars and develop it a bit. Even at high level it still looks a little bit sort of blurry. there is a real distinct lack of clutter on the apron. Could do with a bit more clutter, and just one or two engineers walking about. And probably the third thing that's missing, it's crying out for people. It really is. Okay, if no update comes through and this is as far as the developer wants to go, that's fine. It's really perfectly okay. But as an upgrade, this airport really needs airside ramp clutter and people, and it needs those roads 3D modelled downside to make it look a lot better. It just looks a little bit of a ghost airport. It's beautifully done, but it's just a bit of a ghost airport. It's a real pity. And unfortunately, that's for me what makes it not worth 20 euros. At this point in time with this development, it's probably worth about 15. I don't like to discourage developers at all. That's those are the only sort of drawbacks for me. It's a really nice scenery in a very nice location, very unusual, and it could be so much better. I don't know if the author has plans to add people or to update or develop this further, but at the moment it's not worth 20 euros, although it is a good airport, and I would probably buy it because it's one of these places that I would want to fly out to. I don't get to Israel much. I don't have the Ben Gurion scenery, which is also really quite nice. I just don't fly out here very much at all, bearing in mind this is 5.5 hours from the UK. But EILAT, this location, is a place worth flying to, and this scenery does it justice. But in order to make this a truly great scenery, it needs the road, the photo roads landside being 3D modelled. It needs airside ramp clutter to a higher level to make it look as though there's stuff going on. At the moment, it's a ghost town. And inside the terminal, he's done some nice modelling, but there's no people. Again, it's a ghost town. So those are the three things I'd like to see included, and that would, for me, would make it worth 20 euros. Would make it a steal at 20 euros. But that said, it's taking nothing away from the fact that this is a really nice scenery, a nice product, an unusual airport in a very interesting place for you to go flying into. I certainly will fly down here. Certainly worth doing that. So there you go, folks. EILAT Ramon Airport in Israel. Lima Echo Romeo. It's a payware scenery by FTXDes. And you're looking at version 1 for the PC version of Flight Simulator 2020. Downloads at 4.19 gig and installs at 7.22 gig, and I think that's largely because of the terrain and the mesh modelling. It's available from SimMarket currently at a price of €20.40, which equates to $22.35 US or £17.70 UK. As ever, those prices includes our estimates from the euro, and they include tax or VAT, which of course may vary depending on your country of purchase. It's a really lovely airport, but it's still at the moment it's a bit of a ghost town, and it needs people, it needs airside clutter and bits and things going on, and it needs 3D roads landside really to make it worth the price. At the moment, for me, it's not worth 20 euros, but it's great. It's a lovely airport, and something a bit different. So there you go, folks. I hope if you've been on the fence about this, I hope you've enjoyed the review. Be interesting to hear back from the developer as well to see whether he intends to improve it. Personally, I think it's ripe for further development. But yeah, great. It's a great little scenery, and if it's somewhere you want to go, yeah, this is the best version. You go get it. Who knows? It may come out in the sales, and if it does, I mean that would be even better. But it's ripe for further development, and I would really love to see that happen. So there you go, folks. This is Lee, your virtual airline pilot, wrapping up another review. Thank you for watching and for joining me. And thank you to the over 960 subscribers I've got. I'm getting very close to 1,000. Really hoping to get there before Christmas, but we'll see. I don't know. That's really, really great. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video review later this week. Take care. Bye-bye for now.